I can go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the Copy. Right foot down. We got to go, plan. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah. One. Yeah. I'm done with it. It's your pace. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Doing great. Ridiculous, man. Holy. You see that? Holy cow. Good job, man. Two times, baby. Yeah. Holy crap.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. On time this week, not late. I'm joined by my three co-hosts, as always. And guys, let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it. What's your hot take this week?
Oh, that's right. I'm first. Well, thankfully for all of my lovely Twitter followers, I had four crazy hot takes this morning. Somewhat serious, somewhat trolling, but hey, they're still hot takes nonetheless. The first one being, and I said this earlier this year as one of my hot takes, that I felt by the year 2030, Front Row Motorsports would make at least one Championship 4 appearance by the end of the 2020s, but in the late 2020s to be exact. And then my second one, I said Ty Gibbs would win not just one, not just two, but 3 championships, all by the year 2030. The third one, this is not even the best one. It's just another one. But the third one was Legacy Motor Club. They will win a championship by 2030. And finally, the Chinese League, the Hey Buddy, get ready to learn Chinese Buddy series will be up and running for NASCAR by 2030. So there you go. There's no way I can lose this. I just gave you 4 spicy nonsense ass takes. Hand me my W.
You just did it for all of us. Okay, I will go next. I don't know how I follow that one, so I'll just go with this. I am coming to you guys today from a little small town in northern New Hampshire, right on the border of Maine, essentially. Got to spend some good time in Portland, Maine. Great city if you've never been there. While I was walking around the streets of Portland along the waterways, saw a lot of cool, nice, big fishing boats. Well, Martin Truex Jr., he's definitely not washed, but he talked a little bit in his press conferences that he's not sure if he's ready to retire, but he's mentioned that he might just want to go buy a fishing boat. I think he should. Martin, be like Peyton Manning. Go out on top, at the top of your game. Go on out. Go buy that big fishing boat. Port it in Portland, Maine. Go catch lobsters, whatever you want, man. Go enjoy life. You gave it your all, NASCAR. Go enjoy your other passions.
Let the record show that Darian cheated. It's hot takes. What's hot take is in the hot take segment, but Darian over here with 4 hot takes, and he even called them nonsense himself. I think there should be a stipulation that your hot take has to make some amount of sense. My hot take, if everyone watched my video, which it's been out for like 20 minutes, so there's no way hardly anyone has yet. But in my video earlier this afternoon, I talked about Chase Elliott and his playoff hopes. And yeah, I know a lot of folks are down on Chase Elliott after New Hampshire, and for good reason. It was a disappointing effort. They were slow. They were off. They finished 12th. That was by far the best they ran all day. Bad time of year to have one of your worst races of the season. But I'm not as down on Chase Elliott as a lot of folks. I still think there's a slightly better chance he makes the playoffs than misses. I looked up a few stats to back this up that absolutely blew my mind. The number one stat is that Chase Elliott actually has the best average finish of all full-time Cup drivers this year. I know he's only made 13 starts. Everyone else has made 20, but still, he's got the best average finish. That blew my mind. That honestly blew my mind. And coming up, Watkins Glen, where Chase Elliott has finished 4th, 2nd, 1st, and 1st the last 4 seasons. He probably should have won last year, but Larson got greedy on the final restart. I don't think if they're in the same boat, Larson does the same thing here, knowing Chase Elliott's current point situation. So I know they haven't had winning speed this year. He's not leading a ton of laps, but between Pocono, Michigan, a road course at Indy, and Watkins Glen and Daytona, don't ever forget about Daytona, I still believe Chase Elliott wins his way in. I still think there's at least a chance. If everything else goes poorly, he could still point his way in to the playoffs.
Well, as everyone sees probably on this beautiful red banner down below here, SVG is going to be racing at Indy for the Indy Road Course in the 91 car again. But my hot take is also about him, but not about that. Mine is about the possibility that he is going to be moving to Cup full-time next year, and I'm going to say this now. Hype is high on him. Hype is very high on him, but I think that people have overhyped him. I think that he's going to be a great road course racer in this series. But you know who else was? Marcus Ambrose. And you know what Marcus Ambrose never did? Never won an oval. I'm going to say this going into it right now. SVG will be a mediocre NASCAR driver and a great road course driver. That's it.
Okay.
And that reminds me, I should probably put up a poll seeing who has the hottest take. But while I do that, guys, we had one race this weekend and one during the week. Race on Monday. Danny, you were there. Start us out about just everything in general with New Hampshire on a Monday. And was it really raining how they said it was?
Okay, Sunday it really was raining how they said it was, and it was doing that for pretty much all day. I will say, though, we went to the movie theaters afterwards. It was nearby, and by the time we were coming out, it was kind of not raining, but there was definitely still moisture in the air, some light rain in places. So I don't know. Maybe they could have done something with the damp weather, but I think with how hard it was raining, there was literally floods, tornado warnings going on everywhere. I think the main thing NASCAR wanted to do was just keep people safe. They didn't want people having to get out and driving that if they didn't want to, and I can't say I blame them. We were only like less than an hour away. We had to go pick up our credentials anyways. We were going to be there no matter what. When we was picking up our credentials, they said postponed to Monday. Said, okay, great. Kind of came in knowing it wasn't going to happen. So we went over to the New England Racing Museum, got a tour of Dick Berger, and it was really cool. And but yeah, when the race actually happened on Monday, we got there early, went to the Tweet Up. Good amount of people at the Tweet Up. A lot of y'all came over and said hey to me. So to the New Hampshire Tweet Up crowd, how you doing? Good to see you. But yeah, it was overall not a bad crowd for a Monday. I was actually really satisfied seeing that crowd. Once the race got going, kind of what I expected. A race on a Monday on a flat track. I didn't expect much action. We had a little bit, especially, the Almirola situation. We'll talk about that more later. But overall, I was, nothing happened that I didn't expect, if that makes sense. Truex, I knew I picked either that morning. I said it was either going to be Truex or Bell. One of them's going to just run off in clean air and dominate, and ultimately we saw that with Truex.
Yeah, as long as you know going in that it's just one of those tracks where it's not going to usually produce like the most spectacular racing in the world, but I'm pretty sure if you were there's probably some decent battles going on in the midfield or whatever. But once you get that clean air up front, it's pretty much just follow the leader. And Martin Truex Jr. finally wins at New Hampshire. It's been a long time coming. And I tweeted this after the race. I'm like, damn, is this the 2017 or 2023? Because I'm starting not to tell the difference now. Like, I know I said a week ago that Byron was the current favorite, but I mean, it's a fluent situation. The championship favorites it changes week to week sometimes. And now, I mean, I know Truex has 3 wins and Byron has 4, but man, it just feels like everywhere we've been, like Truex he's been up there, man. He's been up there. So
I said it after the race, so that the only 2 drivers I would confidently pick to make the championship for right now would be Martin Truex Jr. Someone in the chat was talking about Chase. Martin Truex Jr. and my desktop's in a different organization. I have the chat more visible than usual. That's either a good or a bad thing. But Byron and Truex are the only 2 drivers I'd be confident picking to make the championship for. I want to ask you this, Danny, because a lot was made coming into this weekend about the new tire that Goodyear brought that I think was meant to be a little faster on the short run, but wear out quicker, creating Jarrett, your fly is here, creating a bit more lap time differential. Mm-hmm. I heard a few drivers talk about it. I listened to Hamlin's podcast and he just kind of mentioned it in passing. Oh yeah, wasn't that different? Whatever. But did drivers talk much about the new tire and did they feel much difference?
No one that I talked to said anything about it. I don't recall anyone in the post-race interviews mentioned the tires too much. Logano mainly mentioned that no matter what he tried on Truex, it couldn't really. He tried restarting on his outside. He tried restarting behind him. He couldn't do anything. So that's not really the tires' fault. Harvick didn't say anything. None of the guys. I talked to Christopher Bell before the race. He didn't mention anything about tires. He just mentioned that they made mistakes on Saturday they wanted to not make, and Well, they still did. But no one really said anything about the tires though.
Yeah, I thought the race was decent. The only difference really between like last year or really any other New Hampshire race was that the groove did seem to widen out. Like they were racing
Yeah,
up near the
Truex figured
wall
that
at
out at the
times.
end.
Yeah. I'm sure that was at least partially the result of the new tire, for sure, which I think that's good.
That
I think
had to be.
multi groove racing is important in modern NASCAR, considering how bad dirty air is. You want the second place guy to have options to get out from behind the lead car. And so I thought that actually was good, especially by the end, how wide the racing group was.
Yeah.
I kind of, it was funny when I did my post race deal on Monday, I had a lot of people disagreeing with me. Because, well, I don't think this was like a horrible race by any means. I thought it was just kind of average, mediocre, like a 4 or 5 out of 10, which on my scale is an average normal race. The way that I saw it is, yes, those lanes were working, but a lot of times, and I know that I'm going to have people disagree with me on this, a lot of the times I felt like I was watching a mini 550 race in the sense that unless you had that right groove at the right time, if you were stuck on the bottom, the person would always get the run on the top and you couldn't pass them no matter what, unless it was absolutely perfect or somebody made a mistake. Now, luckily, with New Hampshire, compared to the 550 track package in general, New Hampshire, in my opinion, is such a kind of older, abrasive track that there were a lot of people making mistakes. You saw it with, I believe, McDowell getting into the Priest. You saw it with leaders getting onto the seams. So I think it was a more challenging track, and that's what, to me, what made the race more entertaining than I would say a 2019, 2020 race would be. But it was kind of what I expect with New Hampshire. I think the part that kind of, and we'll talk about this now, what kind of soured it for a lot of people is Monday Martin came out to play at the Magic Mile, and it was utter domination. I mean, I think it was maybe 10 laps. If you got out in front on a restart on a strategy for 10 laps, that was the only way you're going to beat him. If it was a long run, he had you beat. If it was a medium run, it was even a bit of a longer short run, if you will, he had you beat. It's no other way to put it. He put on a clinic.
Yeah.
That's the best way I'd put it.
He also said afterwards, even with all the different tire strategies, he was always on equal or better tires than the cars around him. And like there was one restart towards the end where I think he restarted fourth, like second in the outside lane. And I thought, okay, some dirty air. Let's see what happens. And then whoever it was on the inside spun the tire. So Truex was second going for the lead by the time they got to turn one. I was like, no, it's over. Yeah. I mean, I think that's his second Monday win of the year. 2 of his 3 wins have come on a Monday. So I don't know what it is about, what's the opposite of prime time? Not so prime time races. Martin Truex Jr. Races. Yeah, when you get the noon slot on NFL Sunday, Martin Truex Jr. shows out. He plays hard. But no, you could tell the win meant a lot to him winning at New Hampshire. I think this might have been like his last home race, sort of, to check off his list, and now he's got that lobster. So at least that storyline was kind of cool.
Well, they better hope they don't have the championship race on a Monday, because then Truex is a lock to win that.
Well, looking really quick at the hot take poll, Eric won with 33%. Darian's multiple hot takes each got 7% apiece. I got 27%, and Danny got 11%. So
Callity. All I had to do was accuse someone of cheating.
Yeah, all you had to do is just. Yeah,
I do want to kind of, and I'm going to give this as a poll too to the rest of the chat. But I want to ask you guys, whoever wants to go first, go for it. We said you don't know whether or not you could say he is or not. I'm going to ask you straight up, yes or no. If just someone's right behind you, force multiplier to the head. I can't say the other word. You have to pick. Is he the favorite or not? Is Martin Truex Jr. the favorite to win the championship?
Yes, he is right now. He's been good everywhere, man. He's been good. And, I know like not every single Joe Gibbs racing car is like, they haven't ran the best. Most of them, at least. I mean, Ty Gibbs is still a rookie learning and stuff, but the rest of those Joe Gibbs cars have been pretty good. And MTJ is the best one there. As for Hendrick, it feels like William Byron, like, yeah, he's great at, some places, but then it feels like, he might, disappear a little bit every now and then, compared to Truex, compared to just Truex's performances. So I would say Truex is the favorite right now. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to be, a prisoner of the moment, but I agree. I think yes. And I think it's because Truex this year looks like probably the best on shorter, flat ovals. He won the Clash at the Coliseum. Maybe that's a special case, but he won that race. He was top 5 at both Martinsville and Gateway, and then he just won at Loudon. And you look at the championship venue, Phoenix, it's a flat 1 mile track. Truex's other win was Dover, which isn't a flat track, but it's a 1 mile track. So, 2021, I picked Truex to win that championship because he didn't dominate like Larson everywhere, but he dominated at the tracks most similar to Phoenix. And he was going to win that championship until Larson's pit crew beat him in the final cycle. So I think this is a much similar case. He's got enough playoff points and wins that I think as long as he doesn't, have just a catastrophic round, he'll make the championship 4. And right now, of the favorites, I think he's been the best on the short ovals.
Yeah, I think right now Truex is the favorite to me. Of course, William Byron has 4 wins, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sold that even the races he won, he was the best car. Las Vegas, something happened to Kyle Larson at the end. That's what handed it to win the Byron. Phoenix, I think something else happened similar.
Burton's fun. Yeah,
that happened. Darlington, we saw Chastain and Larson crash. That handed it to Byron. Atlanta was just rain coming in. So right now I'm not sold on Byron, but Truex, when I've seen them at their best, he's really good. But also the same for Kyle Busch. When he's at his best, he's really good. But Kyle Busch is still missing a little bit more than what Truex has right now.
Well, I'm gonna say no, and this is why the track that most have compared Phoenix to, like, when it comes to most similar of any of them, is actually, I think, Gateway now is the one that people bring up. And when you look at Gateway and you look at how they ran in that race, Truex was good. He finished 4th in the first stage, and he ended up finishing 5th overall, but he wasn't a threat to win that race. That race really was, I would say, between Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. Now, while I don't think that Kyle Busch is as consistent as Martin Truex Jr. is, consistency doesn't matter in the last race. Kyle Busch has a lot of playoff points. I think he's going to probably get another win or 2 before that point, or at least I think he would. And that's probably, even if he's mediocre through the last round, with how chaotic, I know it's overused, but with how chaotic the last round is, and so far the next gen era has been, I think that could carry him into the Final 4, in which case it's who's the best at the flat tracks. And based on at least that one, Gateway, which, remember last year, Joey Logano, I believe, won that race and went on to win the championship. I'd go Kyle Busch on this one because he was good both years, not just one.
That's fair. It's a fair point. I just think he's got a harder path to the championship 4, kind of like you said. That's my only concern there.
Yeah, a matter of getting there.
I don't disagree there, but looking at the chat, they're with you 3. 58% of them say yes, he is now the title favorite.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say he's like a heavy favorite, Like, I mean, like, I feel like the top 3 right now are him, Kyle Busch, and William Byron. But yeah, I mean, like, it says a lot about, Byron and stuff where, he's able to be at the right place at the right time. And then Kyle Busch and, in similar races, I mean, he's won some races where, he wasn't the best guy. But I mean, like, I can't think of a race where it's like, okay, I feel like all 3 of Truex's wins, he's been, without question, the best driver, at least with 2 of them that he has. So, I mean, like, it's a fluid situation, but yeah, Truex, I'll give him the slight edge as being the favorite. But, Byron and Busch, they're not too far behind, my opinion.
Well, another person we could bring up in this conversation is the guy who put up a fight against Truex at the end of this race, Joey Logano. Logano was probably one of the only people who was able not only to fight with Truex, but also at different points run Truex down. So I'll give it to you guys. Moving forward, is Joey Logano someone that we're all sleeping on right now, who's gonna, like 2018, come out of nowhere when he was good all along?
I mean, think we both slept on him last year, and he won a darn championship.
I think both Logano and Blaney, 2 Penske guys, are being slept on a bit. I think Logano has more pedigree. He's a 2-time champion, so I think people trust him more. But Blaney's also, I mean, you mentioned a second ago, Jarrett, he was really good at Gateway. He was also obviously really good at Charlotte, won the Coke 600. Like, that just snapped a huge winless streak. And Blaney was in contention at the end of this race too until he made a mistake on pit road, or his pit crew made a mistake on pit road. So I actually think, Ford is a little off. I mean, when you look at the point standings, guys like Keselowski and Buescher have been, as or more consistent than guys like Joey Logano. But I do think when it's all said and done, if I were to pick anyone from the Ford camp to make it to the championship 4 and be a threat, it would be the two guys that finished 1-2 in the championship race last year, although Blaney wasn't a part of the championship fight. So I think Logano, but I saw someone in the chat mention a moment ago that don't sleep on Ryan Blaney either. I think they're both equal contenders. Maybe that's right.
Someone else to not sleep on and right now he's tracking, both of him and his teammate both are tracking well to make it into the playoffs. Don't sleep on a Brad Keselowski, because really the way the rounds line up, I mean, Buescher won Bristol last year, but Brad looked like he could have possibly won that one last year. And then we got Talladega mixed in there too. Good for Brad. Brad could be good at a track like Martinsville. Don't sleep on Brad Keselowski to not find a way to get there.
I wouldn't sleep on. You can't sleep on Logano, of course, but I do find it interesting in Logano's odd years of his Cup Series career. Each of them have been like struggles where he's like missed the playoffs or something like something crazy's happened of that sort. But Ryan Blaney, man, he should have had a friggin' top 5 or top 3 finish easily. But his crew, it was either him or his crew screwed him over. I can't remember which one, but it always seems to be one or the other. And we were just talking about him as like, he's, finally top 5, finally more consistent. But you know what? When it comes playoff time, those mistakes can be the difference between advancing and being eliminated. So I don't know. I'm just, a little cautious about Blaney and stuff just based off of the mistakes. But Logano, I mean, he's the defending champion. He has to get some benefit of the doubt.
Well, I think let's not put our audience too much to sleep with this kind of talk. We also have a little bit of I won't even say confrontation, a bit of a disagreement to talk about. I will not call this a fight because NASCAR fans need to stop calling things that aren't fights. But Michael McDowell and Ryan Preece they exchanged words after the race. I'm going to ask you guys this. Is this something that's going to move forward between them, or is this Preece sort of loud bark, no bite?
I'm pretty sure they're over it already. Michael McDowell wanted nothing to do with that from the get-go. He was apologizing on Twitter that day. It's funny. I didn't know what had happened until afterwards, because so you guys know this, having done the media part of it. After the race, they put up the fence. You usually expect, okay, there's Bob, there's Dustin Long, there's all these other big people. And I'm like, why is it just me here? There was only a handful of us. I was like, something had to have happened back there. And then I seen it was like a fight with McDowell and Preece. It really wasn't a fight.
As far as I'm concerned, it looked like it all began and then ended right before they got to their motorhomes. It felt like at first, McDowell was trying to go over to Preece, like, hey, look, I apologize. Preece kind of pushed him away, but then all of a sudden they talked and stuff. And then I felt like they either, agreed or maybe agreed to disagree, but I don't know. I felt like it died there. So, it just, the situation ended, right then and there. So
I didn't see exactly where it started, but the clip I saw, I mean, it starts with McDowell coming up and literally putting his arm around Preece and like apologizing. And then he apologized on Twitter, like Danny said. So I feel like it was over instantly. Like there was never going to be a physical altercation.
It's a fight. It's a fight.
Something funny before we started here, me and Claudia went out to dinner, and this place we went to tonight had NASCAR Race Hub on TV, and I saw them doing this question. They were talking about that little fight. Then they showed the Chastain punching Gregson, and then they raised the question, and it was Chad Knaus and Kevin Harvick was who they was asking this to. They asked him to grade the chances of another fight happening before the playoffs. Chad Knaus is hyping up saying 75%. They're definitely gonna be hitting each other, and then Kevin Harvick is like 5%. We're not doing anything.
Harvick's like, dude, no.
That's the thing. And we talked about this last time we had Chase and Dale on. Like, I remember me and Dale went off about this. Like, can we stop calling things fights that aren't fights? Like, NASCAR fans need to stop this. This whole like culture of, oh, every little thing is a fight, or little pushing here or there, a disagreement's a fight. Like, get over it. But I will say something though. This isn't the first time, and I know it was an accident, but still, this is not the first time Ryan Preece has been run through on track. Has he done anything in response to anyone about this, or has he just barked about it and then been a doormat?
Here's the thing. He comes from I think it has a lot to do with his background. I feel like he's exactly like Truex in a sense, where he's going to complain and he's not going to do nothing because he comes from the modified background and stuff, and he obviously didn't have, the most money in the world when he was racing growing up and stuff. So he's a guy who just wants to race clean, take care of his equipment and stuff. But I mean, now he's in the big time. So I think this is the second or third time something has happened within this year involving him getting ran over. So I feel like eventually he's going to have to take some action here pretty soon.
I was going to mention
tomorrow we get to see Ryan Preece and Paul Tracy on the same track.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I was going to mention it was Bristol Dirt. He retaliated against Larson and put him in the wall.
Oh yeah. And then I think it was also Coda too. I mean, everyone was getting ran over that race though, but he was like, all these hacks, I'm done.
Yeah, but he called them hacks. Remember with Hocevar, he was, don't do that. He was that guy.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Larson is the only instance I can think of where he actually did something on track to alter someone's race. I'm not sure if he's physically retaliated in any other significant ways. But yeah, I'd like to see what he does in SRX. That last Stafford race was very confrontational. I can only imagine.
I'm starting to wonder if Michael McDowell was being so apologetic because he knows that could potentially be a future teammate of his.
I think it's more McDowell knows he has a 1-point cushion in the playoffs right now, and any wreck, any spin could ruin his season this point.
Yeah, and also too, you just mentioned it might be a potential teammate. I could have sworn I saw someone over the weekend where I felt like he was pretty secure in his extension. I guess his extension talks with front
I think
row,
McDowell said that front row has an option, so it's like the ball's in their court. Front row has
kind of like the deal with Busher and RFK where they said, "Hey, get over here."
I think so.
Okay.
So side note, but like if you're front row, what the hell are you doing? Why have you not re-signed McDowell? If he's interested and you're interested, the dude's got you in the playoffs right now. Are you kidding me?
One guy, I got a reason for you. 2 words: Zane Smith.
Drop Gilliland. I mean, he's fine, he's good, but McDowell and Zane Smith, that's your future. That is your future.
We'll see. I mean, Gilliland's been doing awesome for them too, though. So it's like you can't just let him go, right?
He's been fine, but
David Gillen helped grow that team in the beginning. So
there's like so much history.
I said that, I'm not talking about the past. I said the future. The future is McDowell and Zane Smith.
Rusty Wallace helped grow Penske to the point that they're at
today.
Steve
Wallace should have had a ride.
That'd be a lot of wrecked cars.
See, that's a tough situation because I don't want McDowell to leave, but at the same time, it's like if you're front row, it's like, but you also have, in the Truck Series, Zane Smith winning all these races, and he's clearly a Cup Series talent. He was about to sign with Ganassi before he went out of business. Like, I don't know, like it's a tough situation. It feels like a good situation to be in because I feel like it's a win-win situation in a sense.
It is tough, but I just think Zane Smith is. Zane Smith outdueled Todd. Remember Todd Gilliland? Did he not? He drove the 38. Zane Smith then took over the 38 with the same crew chief and went out and won a championships or championship 4. And
I think Gilliland just won a race with them. I believe
Gilliland is good. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Zane Smith is better. He's a better prospect, and Michael McDowell's got you in the freaking playoffs right now. You can't like that. If you have an option on McDowell, why is it taking so long to just re-sign him? I don't understand.
I think it's this, and this is someone who just showed you his Michael McDowell diecast. It's the same with every sport, though. They can't last forever. And while I think Michael McDowell is doing really well, and I think he deserves to be back, and I think he should be back, he is also going to be 39 years old, which I know is not the peak for a driver. But when you have a 24-year-old and Zane Smith coming up, I think that has to be the priority. Number one priority has to be Zane Smith. Because I don't want to waste his career on Stewart Haas racing equipment. and then Todd Gilliland is 23. So he's nowhere near the peak of what he'll be, and he's shown vast improvement this year. So I think it's tougher than people think. I think it's a matter of, everyone says that Loves would go with McDowell. Loves has been there since before McDowell was on that team.
Chris Buescher won a race in the Loves car
and for a decade, I think. Yeah, I think it's been with the team for a decade, I want to say.
Yeah, I don't think that's a McDowell sponsor. I don't see that going anywhere.
Yeah, I really don't.
I don't know. We're way off topic.
Yeah.
McDowell and Zane
But
Smith.
that-
I just
but
think
yeah.
that's an easy call.
That was a good topic, though.
Yeah, well, and before we go to the next topic really quick, be sure to lick that like button. Let's get those likes up there, all y'all.
Already over 100. Thank you, guys.
I like Denny delivers in the chat. The fact that front row is considered a better seat than SHR.
It is.
True.
It's true. And I think it's been that way for a little bit now.
At least this year.
I'm telling you. Well, to kind of move on, though, from on the track to presenting the track, I want to give a shout out really quick to NBC because, and I've said this for a while, what I love about NBC is even if it doesn't work right or it's not the greatest execution, they're trying new things. Mm-hmm. And I liked what they did on the restart. On the restart, they had most of the screen, like I'd say probably 70% of the screen, maybe 60% of the screen was the main restart broadcast. We always get the same boring camera shots of them coming up to the restart zone and then the entire static shot of the straightaway. But then they also had 6 at one point. And then I think one of them got knocked. I think it was Kyle Busch got knocked out. Then 5 different cameras of different drivers' perspectives on the restart and seeing where they were restarting through the field. So I want to shout that out because while we have Fox being very stale at the start of the year, again, NBC is doing really well. Do I think they're the greatest broadcasters of NASCAR ever? No, but they're trying new things and that needs to be commended.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot about what NBC's done this year that I really appreciate. Although in an attempt to be fair, because we've nitpicked Fox to death, I think I tweeted this. I nitpicked one thing NBC did. They've done a great job of showing mid-pack more battles, but this week it was at one point at the expense of a hard-fought battle for second in the closing laps. I don't remember who it was. I think it was like maybe Logano and Larson or somebody. And I saw them on the leaderboard kept flipping. And I was like, are we going to see it? And they never acknowledged it because I think a caution then came out pretty quick. We never acknowledged that Larson, I think, made the pass for second and it never got a mention. So, I agree with you, but I just, in an attempt to be fair, because people think we never criticize NBC, that was a mistake. Hopefully they'll get better. They'll do better.
Yeah,
I hope.
Somebody commented yesterday on my YouTube post. They commented, that was the worst NBC broadcast of the year, but still way better than any Fox broadcast has had all year. I'm like, wow.
God.
That's
the chat, Isaac said NBC Fox is hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby.
Oh wow.
Prime Oppenheimer time joke. Well, last thing before we kind of move away. Well, 2 last things. One to a question I want for you guys, and I put it in the chat. Would you do a Martin Truex Jr. and bite the lobster?
I don't really eat seafood, so I'd probably say nah.
I would. Well, you got to dip it in butter first, and then you bite the lobster.
At the very least.
There you go.
So I've ate lobster 3 times this weekend, so I've ate plenty of lobster.
I'd bite
or you
the
have
lobster.
You have a death match. You have a death match with the lobster. You just cut the things off and just go at it.
No. Let's not do that part.
And then, really quick fun fact here. This is only the 4th time ever in NASCAR Cup Series history that every member of the top 5 going into that race was a former NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Oh,
that's surprising. That's kind of fun.
Interesting.
That's the 2nd time it's happened in the last 10 years at New Hampshire. So, yeah.
Wow.
So I guess New Hampshire is a litmus test of greatness. By the way,
so.
When it comes to biting lobsters, 57% said no.
Wow. Yeah. I thought they were adventurous. Thought they were a little adventurous.
Wussies.
Yeah, we really do.
Guys, moving on from the action on track to the overarching story of this regular season so far, we have the NASCAR playoffs to talk about. And I'm going to read off really quick. All these guys are within a race or around a race within the bubble line right now. You have Bubba Wallace, 15th, +2. Michael McDowell, +1 in 16th over Daniel Suarez in 17th. 18th is AJ Allmendinger in -20. And Ty Gibbs, 19th, -41. 20th, Alex Bowman, -42. Then Justin Haley, -46, 21. 22nd goes to Austin Cindric, -51. And Chase Elliott did not gain anything on the cut line this week. With 6 races to go to the playoffs, he is 60 points back. Anything surprising you after this week? Or because the question I'll put up here is who's in must-win territory now? Because I think a lot's changed in how we're going to view this moving forward.
I feel like the must-win territory, unless you're 15th, 16th, and 17th, and you have that, little 1 point cushion and stuff, I feel like you have no choice but to go into must-win territory. I know Allmendinger's 20 points below. He's only 20 points. But, I mean, we saw at New Hampshire, it felt like, these guys below the cut line didn't want to be above the cut line. I mean, we saw Allmendinger with problems, and then Ty Gibbs with problems, and then even Alex Bowman had problems later on in the race, So I don't know. I feel like they've just been like, it's either like one or two of these guys below the cut line, or as we saw three last on Monday, that have just been inconsistent. So I feel like if you're 18th on back, you got no choice. I mean, 6 races left, like, you can hope that Bubba and McDowell and Suarez have some type of issue, but I mean, they keep having issues themselves. So I feel like if they're going to keep doing that, you might as well just get the win.
I think AJ Allmendinger on down is in must-win territory because Allmendinger, yeah, he's only -20. I just don't see him running well enough on the ovals. He's been better lately. Didn't run too great in New Hampshire, but overall he's been pretty good lately. But I don't think he's going to run well enough to make up 20 points. He's going to have to win the Indy Road Course or the or Watkins Glen or Daytona. Anyone can win Daytona. So I'd say Allmendinger on down are in must-win territory. Ty Gibbs was the big disappointment for me this last weekend. Besides Chase, I was hoping Chase would at least run top 10 and get some stage points, and he was just off. But Ty Gibbs, we saw how fast Toyotas were. Truex dominated. I think Christopher Bell was a top 3 or 4 car. Even Hamlin was like 5th, 6th, 7th all day. Ty Gibbs, I think at best got to like 10th, but because he spun out or almost spun out in qualifying, and he just never really got track position during the race. Once he got close to the top 10, he spun out late. I can't remember if somebody hit him. He spun out or something with 3 to go, and ended up finishing like 27th. So that was a big missed opportunity because I think he entered that race like 25 or 26 points back, and I thought he had a great shot to get within 10 or 15, and instead he's now -41. And a young rookie making up 15 points in 6 weeks with some good Toyota tracks coming up, I would buy that. But making up 40 points, I don't know. That's going to be really tough to do.
For me,
I don't know. I can't hold too much on Ty Gibbs right now because right now he's, in a way, I guess he kind of reminds me of Chase Elliott at that point. Chase was doing pretty good, but still had a lot of veteran talent he's having to go up against. And, well, if he doesn't make it, oh well. If he does make it, great. But it is kind of intimidating. We see how good as other Joe Gibbs guys are doing, but I think he'll eventually get there.
For me, I'm saying I think basically everyone from Ty Gibbs on down is must win. AJ Allmendinger I still think is on the fritz of it just because that car and team ran well at Michigan last year. Generally, Colleague is pretty good at the super speedways, and you got the road courses. Where I'm worried is Richmond and Pocono. He only has, I think, 2 career win or top 10s, I should say, at Pocono. And Richmond, I think he finished 27th, if I'm right, at in the spring. But I still think he can get enough points to be in that hunt. But from there on down, yeah, I'm the same way. Like must-win territory. Gibbs, I think, he's just not consistent enough yet. I don't think he has enough experience. I don't think he's really, at the same level that Allmendinger or Suarez, even 80% Bowman, like I think we're seeing right now, which is another who's definitely in a must-win. I think with Gibbs, maybe this week he could be a dark horse. Maybe Michigan he could be a dark horse. Ran well last year there. But I think right now the points battle is between those first 2 and last 2, both above and below the line at the moment.
And that's a shame because Ty Gibbs was looking pretty good for his rookie season, but then like Atlanta happened and then New Hampshire happened, and all of a sudden, I mean, I think he was like, I want to say like 9 or 10 points below the cut line, and then the last 2 races happened, and now he's like -40 something.
And
so
interesting enough, because of what happened last year, this weekend is actually his, I guess you'd call his full year mark.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so he would have been running in the Cup Series for 1 whole year now. So look, it's going to take time. I know his teammates are, having awesome seasons, but again, those guys, they they're basically the vets of the team. Ty Gibbs is just a baby right now. Just give him some time. So just the fact he's even in the conversation's a decent rookie season. But yeah, Hendrick Motorsports, you're in shambles, bro. They're in shambles. Like, I mean, like, look, I feel like, it's similar to Stuart Haas that, it feels like we've just been dunking on them. But like, it's so surprising. Like, even with all the injuries and the lack of track time from Bowman and Elliott, I still figured at this point they would have secured their way in the playoffs off a win, or they would have would have gotten above the cut line. But oh man, like Bowman, like Danny, what's going on here though? What's going on here, man?
I was just about to say get ready to sell houses, buddy, but you know what? I just looked up Alex Bowman real estate. There's a few others that are already out there. He's got some competition.
Oh, you're the real estate, but he's not even 100%. It feels like. So, do you want to give him a pass for that? To some extent, sure. But then Chase Elliott, man, just again, he hasn't been the same, it feels like, ever since. And, like Jarrett just said, he didn't even gain anything this weekend, and still a full race of points behind. 6 races left. He's going to need the win at this point. They both are, I feel like.
Well, we haven't talked about. Oh, I'm sorry, Jarrett.
Oh, I'm just saying you also have to factor in if somebody wins, it's really going for 15th right now.
Oh, yeah.
True. And I was going to mention the guy in 15th. We haven't mentioned him yet, but Bubba Wallace, like 15th looks okay, but he's only +2. Mm-hmm. And, I'm excited about some of the upcoming races. I think Michigan and Pocono will be interesting. Wasn't Michigan? I think he sat on the pole there last year.
Yeah, he finished second.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to those races, but he's also got Watkins Glen in Indianapolis, and we know he's not a great road racer. So I do worry about his somewhat precarious points position still.
Well, and this for Bubba Wallace, in my opinion, is a huge test on can he handle pressure, because we've talked about how the mental fortitude he's going to need to build up over time. We saw earlier in the season him questioning himself for saying rookie mistakes and shouldn't be in Cup and all that. Is that going to reemerge under the pressure of making the playoffs? I mean, again, I am big on Michael McDowell, but man, if you are in like top tier Toyota equipment and you miss to Michael McDowell in front row, that's not going to be a good look, I think, to anyone, especially since this, based on history, is the time of the season where he should be getting better, where this team should start hitting their stride more. And it feels like 23-11 has sort of just leveled out. They're better at the start of the year, but in this middle part of the year, they've kind of leveled out, maybe a little less than they were last year. And I think it's going to be a big test both on the team, but especially on him.
Yeah, and he's had certain times where it's like, damn, like, is he going to recover from this type of incident? But he's in. Good news, he's above the cut line. Bad news is it's +2. And there were a few races where you look back and you're like, damn, like he had a couple of good finishes here and there. He'd definitely be more secure. But hey, this is his 3rd year at the team. Hasn't made the playoffs yet. Here's your opportunity. You have 6 races left. Like they haven't been the best team in the world as of recently. It feels like Tyler Reddick's kind of flatlined, and it feels like Bubba Wallace sort of has in a sense. But 6 races left, and you got 2 of them road courses, and Indy road course is kind of a wild card in a sense. So maybe you can get like a top 10 off of just the field wrecking each other and stuff, maybe by accident. But yeah, the other races for sure. Like I don't know. I feel like if you're Bubba Wallace, do you just try to points race, or do you just try to risk it all and just get that win? Like I don't know. It's going to be interesting too. Very interesting.
Well, and you brought up Tyler Reddick, and so that made me start thinking of looking up how these guys have done. And wow, since a top 5 in the Coke 600, Reddick has been 35th, 33rd, 30th, 28th, 27th, finally 6th this week. And it got me interested on how Bubba Wallace has been in that same time. And Bubba, since the Coke 600, has been 30th, 17th, 15th, 31st, 25th, and 8th.
Yeah, so they just finally turned it around, at least for New
race
Hampshire.
Isn't turning it around.
I said at least for New Hampshire, they turned it around, at least for 1 week. But you got 6 races left, both of them road courses. Tyler Reddick, I have no problem on road courses, but if you're Bubba Wallace, though, that's going to be a whole nother hurdle.
Yeah, but I'd say right now, looking at it with 6 races to go, it's a toss-up at this point. I mean, it's pretty easy to see with how close they are, but anything could change. I mean, 20 points could easily, there could be a 20 to 30 point swing just on someone winning a couple stage points, finishing relatively well, like 10th, 11th, 12th, while somebody else gets crashed out in 30th. So we'll see.
And don't forget about Suarez. I mean, just 1 point, but again, drives for Trackhouse. You never know. I mean, like, I remember the very beginning of the season, it looked like they had a ton of speed, then have tapered off a bit. But hey, like you said, just, rack up those, top 10s or top 15s, and then voila, you might be in the playoffs.
Well, guys, I think that's a lot we've covered in a pretty good amount of time here when it comes to the playoffs, New Hampshire, all that. We usually go to TV ratings, but because of different news organizations and companies kind of falling out of line and all that, we don't have any available numbers at the moment for TV ratings. So I want to bring something up for you guys that's kind of an interesting focus on the channels that NASCAR's on. So as we know, cable subscriptions are down, and we use that a lot of time to give reasons for why ratings are down in NASCAR, especially the cable races. USA Network, FS1, and we'll throw in a competitor here in ESPN. Each of them have 72 million cable subscriptions. At the start of the contract, that was around 90 for FS1. And NBC Sports Network, I believe, was like at 85 million or so. The interesting one I saw today was that ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC are only in 88 million homes anymore, only. This includes YouTube TV, this includes Hulu, this includes all the streaming platforms that provide this. So the way I would kind of bring it forward to you now is the main networks, Fox and NBC, have less people watching those local channels now than FS1 did at the start of the contract, which I think is really interesting to look at when you see kind of the way the ratings have went a little bit more, and it kind of shows, I think, out of the 130 some million homes that Nielsen covers, like a good chunk of them do not have any of these TV anymore. Like TV is becoming the way of the dinosaurs with it. I think that's just something really interesting I bring up tonight. I want to know if you guys have anything you think is kind of interesting about that.
It just makes me kind of bummed that the most recent, like, I'll be honest, I kind of like the idea of Xfinity going all to Amazon, like Amazon doing the entire Xfinity series. I kind of like that idea. I'll be honest. I know not everybody would. I completely understand, but it is the Xfinity series. It's not the end of the. Some people maybe are ride or die. They only watch the Xfinity series, but I see the grandstands. I know that's not true, or not common at least. So I really like that idea of dipping your toe into streaming with a major disruptor in the media and streaming market. And now it sounds like, Amazon, if they do broadcast some races, it'll be a much smaller deal. That, like, I kind of just look at that and think people are watching TV differently. We know that. And this data you're providing there, Jared, is just more evidence.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's switching to the internet, man. It is what it is, which that reminds me, I still need to get my NFL Sunday ticket thing on YouTube TV. I still need to get that. But for NASCAR, I mean, I have to agree with Eric. I mean, like, they might as well just go all in with the streaming stuff. I mean, it's the way of the future. And I mean, you just listed those numbers. I feel like these households, I mean, they're hemorrhaging, being in these households, man. Just everyone's cord cutting, and just it's time to move on. Just go, streaming's the future. Go for streaming NASCAR.
Definitely, the internet is king.
Oh, and I think at this point is when you're looking at this new deal, TV, like the way that that cable is now is how TV overall will be in probably 5 years. It's yeah. I'd put it like this to people: would you really want the main platform nowadays to be radio? Because that's the way TV is moving. It's moving that way. It's gonna end up being radio. Listen, I listen to songs on the radio every now and then, but that's how people listen to radio now compared to how they used to listen to radio the way that people watch TV now. Now it's moving in a different direction. People watch TV and TV clips in a lot of ways, especially the younger crowd that NASCAR wants. Like, I don't watch SportsCenter. I don't think I've turned on ESPN other than the SRX since before the pandemic because I don't care. Like, I do not care to watch a 30-minute SportsCenter. I'll just watch like a 5-minute clip on YouTube they put up. And that's how a lot of people are watching TV now. Whereas, I get a lot of NASCAR's audience still watches TV conventionally, but the audience they want does not.
Yeah. The chat saying, "Oh, go ahead. Sorry."
I did find you had to dig for it. A couple folks in the chat mentioned that Cindy Yen on Twitter and I tweeted what appears to be the ratings for this week. They were off 3% from the Monday Dover race earlier this year. Just for anyone wondering, so comparable to what FS1 pulled in for a same time slot.
Okay.
Yeah, I can pull those up really quick. So
that would dig for it. It's at the bottom of an article.
It's at the bottom of an article.
Well, it's Sports Media Watch, but it's all the ratings for all the sports, and NASCAR, kind of have to just dig for it, or it's not the headline.
Okay. Just over 1 million viewers.
Yes,
1.03 million. Wow, that must have been that was within the last half hour. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
man,
not terrible numbers. I'm glad it wasn't under 1 million because that would have been embarrassing. But
yeah,
I guess good enough there. We got tons of information in on that one. But when it comes to what people, that was sort of what the TVs were polled to be like. Darian, what other polls we got?
It's time for the poll, the famous Iceberg poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
So I asked on my community tab, what'd you think of the 2023 Crayon 301? 11% of you said it was great. 51% said it was good, meaning 62% net positive. 28% said it was average. 6% below average. 4% bad, which is the 10% net negative. The first comment, I am not shocked whatsoever here, was from Spencer Purcell. Guys, positive, negative, or meme?
Positive meme. I'm going to go positive meme.
That's a meme. He had all that time to craft up a good meme.
He says, race gets pelted by rain and storms on Sunday, forced to postpone to Monday. MTJ on Monday. It's showtime. Martin Monday, ladies and gentlemen.
It really is.
That's true.
Don't have the championship right now. I'm telling you, it's going to be Martin. It's going to be his.
I'm telling you what, if you were to walk off, that would be a hell of a story.
Yeah.
Looking at the comments here, Dr. Sam W. Pepper says the one race per year change really single-handedly revived an entire racetrack.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
I'd say the crowd was probably comparable to what the crowd was last year.
Yeah. Did it? What'd you think, Danny? Look like a lot out there for a Monday race.
Oh, for a Monday race, absolutely. I mean, okay. I wish it could have been ran Sunday, because I'll be honest, as far as the people who were camping for that race, it was way more than I expected. And I'd never seen the facility before, and I was wondering, I don't really see much around the track, but I realized when I was there was so much more that was outside the speedway. It goes on for a long way. There's tons of people camped out for that one, and I wish we could have seen the full crowd. But for a Monday, it didn't look far off from what I saw on the Saturday race.
The Ryan 597 left the lyrics to Buttercup. So we got lyrics back on this.
There you go.
We have reverted back.
NASCAR Shill says, thank you, Steve Phelps, Steve O'Donnell, and Ben Kennedy. What a great race.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
Donnie's 8605 says, pretty good race, and Briscoe gets his first top 10 in over 3 months.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Because ever since that top 5 streak, he's been gone.
Let's see what else we have. Gavin Adcock says, such a good race goes out with a whimper of a finish.
Oh, I mean, I expected that to be. I mean, it's New Hampshire, usually.
You got a late race restart.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
Are you not entertained? Well, obviously not.
JT Soul says, Monday is for Martin.
It is.
JGR for life with the 19 as his profile pic says, the field got Truexed.
You just been Truex.
I'm not sure that's going to catch on. I don't know.
You just getting Truexed.
I would say you got Martin instead.
Martin, there you go. You got Martin.
Jim Cunningham says Chase just lacks speed.
Yeah, and to some extent confidence, I feel like.
I don't remember where I heard people mention this, but someone mentioned this makes Corey LaJoie's run at Gateway look a bit better. Similar track, similar size and shape and style.
Yeah.
Similar struggles out of the 9.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
I'm not saying that's my opinion. I mean, I didn't think the Gateway was that bad for Corey LaJoie, but that's what people were saying. I just want to throw it out there.
The last three here, the gutter comments here. First one's from Nathan, who said, I had to work, recorded it, and it didn't even record. Saw the ending, but mad I missed the full race. That sucks.
That's damn. Yeah, damn, that sucks. Sorry to hear that.
Well, at least somebody said, hey, you can always watch it on NASCAR's YouTube channel. They upload it every Wednesday, to which he said, yeah, I'll probably do that. So that's
there you
good.
Go. Yeah, and good on NASCAR for doing that.
Well,
for sure.
So I saw a lot of people upset with this, and a lot of people leaving like, hey, just letting you know, like, you won't be able to record the race because USA never changed their TV lineup on the TV guide. So it just was like SVU episodes and Chicago Fire.
I don't. They definitely need to fix that. Definitely need to fix that. For sure.
Creative Name says MTJ sure does like to dominate when he wins, with a lobster emoji.
Yeah, he does. Like, is that still a saying where like Truex wins are only boring races? Is that still like the thing or whatever?
I've heard it.
I do wonder, what's the most exciting race he's won? Because I guess the championship you could consider it, but it was pretty clear he was going to win as long as he didn't screw up.
So wait, the Pocono win in 2015, didn't he win by like 10 seconds in that one or something like that?
I thought it was a good amount.
Okay, it must have been okay because that wasn't exciting. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I can think of an exciting Daytona 500 he lost.
Oh, well, Denny Delivers says the 2019 Coke 600 is the most exciting, I guess.
I don't remember what happened in that race.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Terrible.
Yeah, but was it like, exciting? Like, I don't know. But
let me look up let me jog my memory.
I'm actually looking up a list of all of Martin Truex Jr.'s wins.
Now we got to clarify.
His second one that came up MWR, he won that one at Sonoma by 8 seconds.
Yeah,
well,
that wasn't really.
While you guys are looking that up, I'll read the bottom comment from Will England, who is a member of a channel.
Oh.
Mid Hampshire is all he put. Yeah. So that was the poll.
And that'll do it for this edition of the famous Iceberg poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
Now, really quick, before we jump on over to the first Super Chat stage break, I feel like we only need a couple minutes to actually talk about the Xfinity race.
Sorry, side note, I apologize. Okay. I went to YouTube and looked up Coke 600, 2019 Coke 600, and I clicked on a Fox highlight video and I skimmed through it. And the first thing I paused on is a clip of Truex just dumping whoever was driving the Rick 52, just spinning him out for like no reason at all.
He's like, that's it. That
was pretty exciting to me. You got Truex spinning the 52 car out.
And he never does that. But yeah, so I guess you could say 2019 ones is most exciting, I guess.
Spicy Truex that night.
Yeah.
He junked him. Who was? You don't even know who's in that car. I came into Bailey Curry just junked Bailey Curry.
Oh, damn. And we know. Yes, your boy.
Well, coming back to the present here, we had the Xfinity race on Saturday. It was our one race of the weekend. Unless you want to count the modifieds. But anyway, John Hunter Nemechek destroyed the field. I think the biggest thing, though, to take from this was that huge-ass restart wreck where Kligerman, who was under the cut line, got taken out. Luckily, Riley Herbst is the guy he's battling, so he didn't lose much, thanks to Riley being Riley. But I don't really know what there really is to take from this race. I thought it was about as straightforward of an Xfinity race as we've had here.
Yeah, like there wasn't really. Hey, look, John Hunter Nemechek, I think he's proved his worth. Let's say Truex does retire after and just walks off into the sunset after winning a potential championship. I would say the first replacement would be John Hunter instantly for sure in that 19.
I did think it was interesting that NASCAR issued a warning to all three series to stop playing games on restarts after this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think it was yesterday I saw that. I don't know what that, if it was just like an email, a fax or what, how they sent that, a DM.
Because that restart wreck happened because John Hunter didn't get going. Right.
Yeah. There's arguments that, John Hunter, you're playing too many games. You're waiting too long to get to the restart zone. I noticed in the cup race too, and I don't think a wreck or anything was caused, but I noticed one restart, especially where like all of a sudden the whole field was like trying to catch up to each other right before the restart zone. And I think I saw Hamlin was in like row 4 and he was like 2 car lengths back. And all of a sudden he was like right before they got to the restart zone. I was like, he couldn't have intentionally laid back that far, but I know they try that stuff sometimes to get the jump, to get runs. And I just thought it was interesting that NASCAR clearly didn't like something they saw in the Xfinity race and decided to just blanket warn everybody.
This
like
is
when you issue warnings to both dugouts and the one team gets mad that they didn't get a chance to retaliate. That's what it looked like to me.
This is the battle NASCAR's been fighting with a lot of the drivers since the start. Ever since I started watching restart games, they'll always find a way. That's one of the great things about NASCAR I love watching, is that they always find ways around any rule or decree that NASCAR makes.
But yeah, shout out to John Hunter Nemechek on, I think this is what, 5th win of the season, something like that.
I think
fourth win of the season, 4th win of 2023. But shout out to him for getting that silver play button. That was pretty cool. I guess he's popping on shorts, and
Yeah, I didn't even realize that he was doing much on YouTube, but it's all shorts.
Damn, so he's winning in everything, I guess. So congrats.
He also extended his regular season points lead, so he's 33 points up on Austin Hill.
Man, good job.
Yeah. But that about covered. I think we can close the book on the New Hampshire weekend.
And we are at the top of the hour. Wow, great timing.
Let's get into the first Super Chat stage break. You guys will have to let me know on the time on this one, because, well,
I got you.
All right, well, I'll start off with one that I had to dig through because it replaced it here. So NASCAR Sun 2414 left 3 $5 Super Chats here. And let's see. The first one that I see he left was, "Hey, Danny B, other than the weather, how's your Loudon trip? If the weather is looking bad there, should there be no stage cautions like Atlanta should have done?" So we know what he thinks on that.
I don't think the stage cautions mattered for this race because race happened on Monday. But overall, my trip, very fun, very good vacation. Get a week off from my full-time job, and I'm getting paid for it. So having a blast up here in New England.
This one is for all of us. He asks, what were your first races you watched and also attended? His first race on TV was 2000 at Talladega, where Gordon won, and the first in person, the 2009 Indy, the Brickyard. Okay, just let's do rapid fire. First one I ever watched, 05 500. Jeff Gordon won, and 2006 Michigan June race where Casey Kane won.
2004 Daytona 500 on TV, 2004 Las Vegas 350, the Truck Series race at Las Vegas in person.
I don't remember the first race I watched on TV, to be quite honest. But for the first one I attended was 05 Fall Texas race. Carl Edwards won.
I don't remember the first one I watched on TV, but the first one I watched in person was the 2009 Scott's Turf Builder 300 at Bristol. Kevin Harvick won.
And then, let's see. Also, has any driver ever won the championship and retired like Peyton Manning did in the NFL? No, they have not, but Truex, like he hopes, may become the first. Antar Das for the 5. MTJ leads on average 42.2% of races he wins. 4th highest since 1990 with 5+ wins. The highest active with 5+ wins. Also, it says
that's an interesting stat.
Advanced stats.
Credit to Trey Ryan 99.
Good job, Trey.
Yeah, thank you, Trey. Appreciate it.
Gordon Smith for 5. Remember after Richmond when everyone was saying it might be time to replace James Small, Pepperidge Farms remembers?
Yeah, I remember they argued afterwards.
It might be interesting how Small does without Truex if he retires. Isaac, thank you for being a member for 2 months. Who's ready for all the office jokes this weekend? Oh yeah. Antar Das, thank you for being a member for 2 months as well. I want to see SVG and I think you spelled is it Kamui? Or how do you say it?
Kamui Kobayashi.
Kamui, yeah.
Kobayashi.
I think it was spelled wrong, but who wants to see him battle? Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think all of us.
Yeah.
Isaac also with the 199. Bigger bitch to NASCAR. Mother Nature or Teresa Earnhardt?
Oh, Mother Nature lately.
We'll go Mother Nature, just for my own safety.
Mother Nature stuck around. That's a problem.
Yeah. Don't wake up the witch. Let's move on.
William, thank you for the 2. Send it. All Hunter Nixon fishing for the 5. Kyle Busch is sitting at 63 wins. Do y'all think he ties or surpasses Dale Earnhardt at 76?
Eventually.
I still think he's going to get just short. Antar Das, thank you for 5. People agenda pushing against Larson are stupid. Same goes for anyone saying he's Jeff. No one is any other legend. Larson is Larson. Jeff is Jeff. I didn't know that was a thing.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. You're at 3 minutes, by the way, if you want to do one more.
I'll get one more. Well, 2 more. Marky Mark just says, hello, everyone, with 2.
Hello, Marky Mark.
And
Hi.
Gavin Novak for 2 says, Brad Kozlowski is my title favorite. Interesting.
Hey, you never know in these playoffs. You never know.
Hey,
You never
like
know.
I said, he's got an order: Bristol, Talladega, Martinsville. Anything's possible.
He's got to put together a 3-race stretch each week. Each of these rounds. There you go.
Who am I to stomp on someone's dreams?
Well, I don't know. It sounded like stomping. It might be thunder. I don't know why, but something's coming in here.
Oh gosh, it nearly struck my apartment yesterday. It's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Share it. What do we have on tap for tonight?
Well, we got a few things here. For NASCAR's 75th anniversary, Lionel is releasing the 75 Wins Collection, which is 8 die casts of the 8 drivers who have over 75 wins.
Cool.
Pretty cool. These were TV ratings that were released before 30 minutes ago. Only 395,000 people watched the SRX Season 3 premiere. That is down 59% from the Season 2 premiere and down 70% from the first race ever. I know a lot of people were saying there was a big dirt race going on, but based on the subscription service that had, I think, 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to say that wasn't what was the big problem.
No.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all.
I mean, to be fair, they did move from cable off of network onto cable, but I did expect a little higher considering ESPN is like the most watched. I think it's like the second most watched cable channel.
And the broadcast was good.
How much advertising have you seen from ESPN for it?
I
saw a couple ads during like the Home Run Derby the Monday before, but like I hadn't seen. Like I felt like the only promotion I'd seen was on Twitter, but maybe that's just in the wrong places.
Now it's a little different. It's a little different. They had it like the logo and like the time and day on like the bottom right. I guess with like the ticker thing, but that's about it. That's all I've seen this week.
And based on the numbers that we talked about earlier, that only an 18% difference between ESPN and the channels too. So,
True.
Yikes. This is something I saw. Eventually, this will be in place, like they said it would be one day. Verizon says that it recently expanded 5G wireless phone service around the Daytona International Speedway as well as the town itself with upgrades, says Adam Stern. I remember a time.
I said that forever ago.
Yeah, like 2018, 2019, they said something like that. That didn't happen.
Come on.
This is interesting to look at when it comes to the future of the Chicago street race. It boosted their hotel occupancy by 79%, according to Adam Stern. I love how the people in Chicago try to be like, well, it was no Taylor Swift concert. And it's like, well, no duh.
Dude,
like,
what is that supposed to mean?
Like, I bet if you compared like the average for a Bears game, it's not going to match a Taylor Swift concert.
Bro, they're like,
Taylor Swift is filling up literally every football stadium she goes to, and there's still 30,000 other screaming girls outside that couldn't get in.
Isn't she doing like 2 shows a week? So she'll fill up like AT&T Stadium in Dallas twice in 1 week.
Yeah, she had the Titan Stadium filled up 3 nights in a row. Even one time they waited out in the worst storms, worse than what you guys are having today, and they still waited out and did it at 1 a.m.
But she was like, but whoever said that was like, oh, it's no Taylor Swift concert. Like, yeah, it's a freaking sporting event. Thank you for
my favorite clip. Someone needs to find it and tweet at me again. But it was like, I think it was like Jeff Burton and Taylor Swift like announcing like something at the Country Music Awards in like 2007. I just love seeing Jeff Burton on stage with Taylor Swift.
Burton tweeted it was like, I was that guy. It's like,
wow,
oh my god.
That's how big it was. That's how big it was.
And then last on here, guys, remember Tuesday, August 22nd on IDK Players channel is the NWP 400, where we'll have 40 of the best iRacers out there on Daytona. Same week as Daytona, and it's going to be a ton of fun. I'll be announcing. Darian will be driving. Well, he's got to make past the duels that Friday before. The twin 125s, and then Danny and Eric will be down in the chat hyping y'all up. Well, that you might be hyping them up with how intense this is going to be. Gen 6 cars, old Gen 6 package from the end of the era that they had with the super speedways. So it's going to be an absolute blast. But yeah, I think that about covers it. Not too huge.
Not to skip your super chats, but sorry, people. I know guy Swifties are out there too.
We don't discriminate. And that's it for this edition of the famous lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now back to the show. But really quick, just wanted to put a little shameless plug here. I will be playing in a baseball game this weekend in Portland against the Portland Pickles. That's a real professional baseball team, and I have the helmet ready and everything and stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Got the helmet ready and everything. So here I go. I'm ready to go. I need to get a haircut.
We got
it.
We finally got Darian a safety helmet.
not the Portland I was at, but the
Portland, Oregon. So catch that. I believe it's going to be streamed on either Urinating Tree or 5 Points channel, but I'm going to be playing in a game on Saturday against actual professionals with very little training. So
you're gonna get your ass kicked.
It's gonna be fun. We're all gonna get. Well, I heard the last game they got only one hit against the other team they played. So all we need to do is just get one hit, and it'll be a success.
Darian, I'm just hoping you get one hit.
Darian, you're pretty quick. Do you know how to bunt? You know how to drop down a sick bunt down the third baseline?
Hey, I know how to bunt for sure. I just got to get the form down for the batting form. You know what I mean? Okay. I've been watching some tutorials.
I'm just picturing Darian now off a bat like la 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 95 mile per hour fastball.
These are professionals, bro. They're gonna bring it. So
give them some chin music.
Let's get back to the business of racing before we watch Darian make a fool out of himself in front of professionals.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
This is something that we talked about earlier in the show with him racing at Indy in the 91 again, but SVG is rumored, and not just rumored, it sounds like it's credible rumors, that he's going to be coming to NASCAR full-time in 2024. So I'm going to ask you guys, and I want you guys, we talked about before the show, and I think you guys all have different ones here. Which team do you think he'll go to, and why?
So it's a no-brainer to me. Oh gosh, there we go. All right, now y'all can see me. But anyways, it's a no-brainer to me. You know, he's only made one Cup Series start up to this point for Trackhouse, and it happened to be a win. You know, there's already some brand identity there that you can really capitalize on. I think Trackhouse is the best bet. And I know, yeah, we love the Project 91 car. I get it. It has a lot of potential to bring others in. But, you know, now you had a guy who's not only won in it, but now he has aspirations to go Cup Series racing. And, he's one of these international drivers too. So, he's going to have a ton of support from his home country and a ton of sponsorship opportunities as well from, outside the States, of course. There's a lot of potential there. And, I don't know. I feel like, if he does bring the funding and stuff, then, perhaps, a third team could be started and, maybe put an end to the Project 91 deal for a little while. But, if he wants to run full time, I feel like, hey, he's already won with Trackhouse. So
where's the charter?
That's the thing. So that's the thing. They'd have to get all that sorted out. But yeah, if you want to, go somewhere where you can have immediate brand identity and stuff, but you have to get the charter situation taken care of first, then Trackhouse would be the best bet. But a lot of factors would have to go in. A lot of factors.
I think we're going to be saying that for a lot of our answers. Where is the charter? Well, my team would also need to be looking for the charter potentially. But I'm thinking his best bet could potentially be Colleague Racing. And hear me out on this. AJ Allmendinger, great driver. He's established at this point. Do we think he's going to do great successes at this point in the Cup Series? Maybe not. He could always go back down to Xfinity Series and do some good things there like he had been. We could potentially see SVG get a chance to take over Allmendinger's ride. We could even see them willing to put up the money and get another charter from potentially, let's just say, Rick Ware Racing. With what's happened to his son, maybe Rick Ware isn't wanting to put out multiple cars now at this point. Maybe they just want to have one. So let's say he wants to sell a charter and Colleague comes buying. That could be a good opportunity for them. So maybe we see SVG, take over Allmendinger's ride, send him down. Maybe we see Chandler Smith brought into that lineup too. Who knows? Maybe Chandler Smith still stays back down to Xfinity Series. I think that could potentially be where SVG goes.
You talked about needing a charter. My pick would not need a charter. They're already maxed out with 4 charters. But if Eric Almirola chooses to step away, which if I had to guess, I bet he's leaning that direction right now, despite SHR's best efforts to keep him around and keep Smithfield around, that 10 car needs a solid, experienced race car driver. Look at the other drivers Stewart Haas Racing has begun their rebuild with. They've selected Josh Berry, who's doesn't have a ton of NASCAR experience, but he's a veteran, experienced race car driver. Same goes for Ryan Preece. I think he's 32 years old, 33 maybe. And again, not a ton of NASCAR experience, but he's a great modified racer. Chase Briscoe, tremendous road course racer. He's only in his second full-time Cup Series season, but he's also, I think, 28. Tony Stewart said he doesn't want to put a rich kid with a rich dad in his Cup car. Shane Van Gisbergen is as far from that description as you could possibly be. He's 34 years old. I think he'll be 34 by the time next year starts. Not a ton of NASCAR experience, although what we've seen so far has been very impressive. And with the way the format goes, I think SVG is a lock to win a road course a year and get your team in the playoffs. He's a 3-time Supercars champ. I think that would fit in very nicely with the other seasoned racers that make up Stewart Haas's driver lineup.
So I'll admit one of the ones that I thought, I won't say which one, I think would probably be the number one choice. Trackhouse, I will say I don't know about that one just because of the charter situation, but there are free agency options open with those other two. But I want to think a little outside the box on this one. There are teams that over the years have went from complete laughing stocks to being fringe contenders for the playoffs to now being full-on playoff contenders. The big one we're looking at is Front Row right now. But there's another team that I think is 2 years, maybe even a year behind on that trajectory. A team that was a laughing stock that turned into, well, they show up at the super speedways, they're a fringe playoff contender right now, and they need that extra step to move up. They have one driver set with it, but they don't have another. Spire, I think, is one that people are overlooking a little bit. It's in that Chevy tree, just like Trackhouse is. The 77, let's be honest, they're looking I would guarantee they're looking to move on from somebody that is the caliber of Ty Dillon. You got SVG. He doesn't need to be good every week. You just need him for the road courses and you're qualified for the playoffs. Doesn't matter if he's, doing as well as 2009 Juan Pablo Montoya or if he's Dario Franchitti in his 10 races in NASCAR. What matters is those road courses and just have him run the rest of the races as a formality. Whether he'll go for that, I don't know, but Spire, I think, has the probably the money to put up for it. They have the open seat, and they have Steve Letarte there, so there might be able to be a connection to Hendrick Motorsport. Then who wouldn't think that Rick Hendrick would want to capitalize on a situation like this? So while it's outside the box, I do think Spire should be a dark horse in this conversation.
I like it. A little outside the box. I think I like all four of our scenarios, and there's always the possibility that it's something we haven't even mentioned. I mean, RCR's fielding a car for Brody Kostecki this weekend or at Indianapolis, so who knows?
What about maybe the Wood brothers, maybe? I don't know. There's a single car operation.
I don't know enough about the supercar side of things. I'm flying blind on this, but I know he drives a Chevy over there. How linked to SVG or is SVG to Chevy? Like, has he been a Chevy guy forever? I don't think so. I've seen clips of him driving other cars, so I don't know how married he is to Chevrolet.
The way Joss Ravel described the series to me nowadays is that it's pretty much on its last leg from what he's described to me. So I don't know if there's much factory support as there used to be in the sport anymore, but I would assume if it's Chevy, I mean, like Chevy, they always keep tabs with, all of their drivers, I feel like, to a heavy degree. So I would assume that there's some sort of alliance there. There might be some sort of loyalty there. So yeah, maybe it might just be limited to Chevy teams in the future.
And something else that's might be a little outside the box too. What if he goes for a year in Xfinity before coming up to Cup just to get better at those ovals while still not going straight into the fire? Because again, I think he's a great driver. He showed that at Chicago, but he is completely unproven on NASCAR ovals against NASCAR drivers. There's even a top Chevy opening with the 8 car now. Now probably, if we had to guess, would go to Hocevar, but there could be other openings. What if the 1 opens up too, and there's 2 openings of JRM? They probably should let the 9 have an opening if I were to choose. So I don't think he will, but I think that is something that could be a fallback plan for a better option to open up in 2025 as well. Just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind as well.
Yeah.
But
scenarios.
I didn't know this in the chat. They're saying SVG used to drive for Holden, which is under the GM umbrella. It's like their Australian branch. I did not know that. I thought I've seen videos of him in a Ford as well, but maybe I'm wrong about that. That is interesting. I didn't know. I'd never heard of that.
Interesting.
Well, ending the poll here, 50% in there think it's actually a pretty clean numbers here. 50% C, Trackhouse, and 20 each to Spire and Stuart Haas, and 10% for Colleague. So I'm surprised that how easily split that was to read off. But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be something I think we're gonna all have to watch with silly season. It's a fold that I don't think any of us really saw coming until about 2 weeks ago. But going from looking towards the future, let's look back at the past again and continue our top 75 drivers series here today. So starting out, let's get rid of all of this stuff here.
I'm looking forward to this list.
Yeah, and now we're officially past the halfway point, correct?
We've been past.
Or we've been past it? Okay.
We're well
all
past. So today is 30 through 26. 30th is a guy who had won 28 wins in only 233 starts. He has a 69% nice career top 10 rate, and he's the 1960 NASCAR Cup Series champion, none other than 30th place Rex White. So guys, we're pretty similar with it. 31st for me in the chat, 30th for Danny, 35th for Eric. But Darian, you got him 23rd. Kind of justify your ranking here.
I mean, dude, he had a freaking basically at the very least a 9th place average finish. I was looking at his stats or whatever on Racing Reference when I was pointed out. I'm like, you have to give this guy his flowers, man, because in the races he ran in, he just finished in the top 10 consistently. And this was in fields with 40 and 50 cars, some races, it was a ton of them, back in the day. And yeah, he's the 1960 champion as well, and, didn't really race, a whole lot, not a whole lot of full-time seasons, but, says right here, 28 wins and just a little over 230 starts. So in the races he did run in, he was awesome. He was spectacular. And most importantly, he was consistent. That's why I had him so high up there.
Fun fact about Rex White is his championship crew chief, I believe, was Jeremy Clements's I think it was technically his uncle.
Oh, interesting.
Just a fun fact I know.
Nice.
Danny?
Nothing more to add.
Well, I'll add a little bit more here. Then he was top 10 in points from 1958 to 1963, and Darian, you talked about his average being a 9.0. So definitely, I'd say one of the best. Somebody who's definitely been overlooked, I think, by history. Well,
yeah.
Moving to 29th, we have a guy who has 25 wins in 230 starts, but he also won 2 championships, 1962 and 1963. In 29th place, one of the all-time greats here, Joe Weatherly. And Darian, again, you're the outlier. Me and Eric have him 33rd, Danny 35th, Chat 28th. You got him 17th on the board.
Yeah. Dude, this guy was the man in the early 60s, man. 62, 63 back-to-back champions, was about to go for, 3 in a row. Unfortunately, passed away in a horrible crash at Riverside. So, never won a never won a third championship. But again, similar stats to Rex White. Made 230 starts and got 25 wins. So when he was on, man. And again, I just didn't want to be too I didn't want to show too much recency bias here. I feel like, these past drivers, you definitely need to give them their flowers, especially to the champions and stuff that, I felt like back in those days, you had to hustle a lot, to get certain rides, because back in those days, the championship driver usually never drove for the same team. I believe in those 2 seasons, Joe Weatherly drove for multiple teams and was still able to carve out 2 straight championships. Winning back to back in those days too, impressive.
Yeah. And I'm looking at, I just pull up his stats to confirm this. He was part-time, handful of starts, maybe he'd run a third or half the schedule. The moment he went Full-time, champion. Next year, full-time champion. So, no, to your point, I think if his career hadn't been tragically cut short, like we could be talking about him. I mean, I don't know, maybe in the same breath. I mean, he could be a 3 or 4 time champion. He's in the same conversation as Bobby Allison or Darrell Waltrip.
He looked well on his way in 1964, starting the season as hot as he was ending 63 as well. Yeah. And Danny, you'll kind of like where he had his first win at too, back in 1958, I believe.
Oh yeah, it's a place you'll find Darian most often at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
Yep. And Jonathan, the IDK, doing the commentating for sure. Yeah, hey, you had to be a driver's driver to win, especially back in those days at that track there. But yeah, no, Joe Weatherly,
I would say even back then in the 50s, there wasn't many places you could say with a crown jewel people wanted to win, but Nashville might have been one of the places that they wanted to win at back then.
Yeah, I don't know exactly the tracks he won at, but I mean, according to the itinerary, I don't think he won any any of those crown jewel races. So I believe maybe the Nashville one might be his biggest win just off of the track's history. But somebody pointed out in the chat, they're like, Darian's messing up the list because he has these older drivers so high up. I'm like, hey, you might be right. Might be right.
It would only maybe be a position or two. That's it. But speaking of the next position, is somebody I think a lot of people at home are going to be very, very familiar with. We talked about him already today. His 35 career Cup wins, a perennial championship threat almost every year of his career. The 2012 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Brad Keselowski. And you knew I had to have that big-ass cup of beer on here, too.
Oh, yeah.
Danny, you have him highest. See, Darian has him 31st. I have him 29th. Chat 27th. Eric 25th. And Danny, you have him 23rd. It's interesting. We all have him like 2 spots apart in increments here. But Danny, why is Brad Keselowski 23rd on your ranking?
Maybe it's just recency bias more than anything. But Brad has been a guy. He's, we ain't seen him win a little bit, but he's showing now what kind of driver he is to take a team like RFK, become an ownership role in it, and has helped get them, back to a winning form again, getting a win last year. But now even now he's contending week in and week out in that 6 car, just showing that what kind of talent he is. And from the moment he even started in NASCAR, I remember my first race I went to, was a big junior fan, so I see an 88 car on track. It's Brad Keselowski. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch this guy. So I've literally been watching him ever since 2009 and watched his rise into the Cup Series. So it's been really cool to watch him go from the nationwide series, to climb to the guy he is today. And I think he's just proved to be a really good talent. At one point, I think I was getting tired of seeing him win. So that shows what kind of talent he was at one point. When he first entered the Cup Series, I mean, honestly, you thought he could be like the next Jeff Gordon. When he really got to winning, when he first got started, he looked like he had a lot of potential. Kind of slowed off in some parts, but overall still a really good driver.
He's at 35 wins. If he had stayed with Penske, I think he'd already be at 40. I think he'd that probably puts him in the top 20 all-time win list, right? And so I had him at 25th because he's also a champion and he's won every crown jewel minus the Daytona 500 at this point. And it's only a matter of time, I feel like, how fast Roush is and how good he's been at Talladega historically. So no, Brad Keselowski, to me, easily top 30 all time. And he's not done. Like, that's the thing. How old is Brad? 38, maybe? Maybe one of y'all said it a second ago. I'm not sure.
I'll look up.
He's got, now that he owns the car he drives, he could race for 5, 7, 8 more years. And
39.
I think 39. Okay. I think the trajectory RFK is on, he's going to win again. And I selfishly, I don't know if I want him to get to 39 where my boy Kenseth is, but he might. It'll be close. He might end up in that 40 range where, that's Mark Martin territory,
It's unbelievable to see his career progress. Like, I remember him wrecking in back for back marker truck teams back in like 04, 05. I believe he was driving for his father at some points too, maybe. But, he gets the opportunity really with Germain Racing at first. He scores the pole at Milwaukee in 2007. And then all of a sudden, Shane Huffman gets let go from Junior Motorsports, and there's all of a sudden a major opening just as they're about to start the Hendrick Motorsports partnership. And it's about being at the right place at the right time and seizing your opportunity. And Keselowski did that. And then once he moved up to Cup, got the opportunity with Team Penske after scoring that upset victory for James Finch. And then, hey,
Yeah,
it took a couple years, and then voila, he's a champion.
But
Well, he's
never
been
forget, he got Phoenix Racing their one and only win.
Yeah.
Brad Keselowski won that race.
Well,
Yeah.
he's also been consistently really good too. Qualified for the chase and playoffs 10 times now, Final Four in 2017 and 2020, the same year in 2020 that he won the Coke 600. And I think people forget he back-to-back won the Southern 500 and Brickyard 400 in 2018. So Brad Keselowski is well worthy of this list.
The numbers speak for themselves. And, like you said, he's 39, but he's not done yet. I don't think he's close to being done yet.
The next guy on this list, though, I think is one of the most, I don't know if I'd say underrated, but definitely under-visualized drivers. Like, people just do not see him, and he wanted it this way, the way that he ran his career. He has 37 career Cup wins, the 1970 champion of NASCAR, Bobby Isaac. And we are really, really close together with this one. Everyone had him between 24th and 29th on their list. But Bobby Isaac, somebody who really just went by the beat of his own drum, one of the most independent minds in all of NASCAR. And I got to say, for that reason, I really respect Bobby Isaac because he did not have to be that way.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at these stats. He once won 17 races in 1969, but didn't win the championship.
He happened to a lot of these guys back then. They would just be so good, but they wouldn't run all the races.
Yeah,
he did win the most popular driver award in 1969. So
he
got something.
There you go. He got a trophy. Got something. But yeah, 37 career Cup wins though. I mean, that's not bad. 1970 Cup Series champion. Didn't he also set like a speed record or something? I know it's not NASCAR related,
but
outside
of NASCAR.
Yeah, but still, that's pretty cool that he also had reaches outside of NASCAR and to do stuff like that. And he won 20 poles in 69. Jeez, oh my gosh, 1969 was an awesome season.
69 was a rather nice year for him.
It really was, man. Just needed that champion, but he didn't run all the races. But still, even the races he did run, similar to Rex White and Joe Weatherly, was awesome when he did run in them.
I also remember I don't remember what year it was, but didn't Bobby Isaac sort of like semi-retire at one point? He pulled out of a race and then eventually came back to it, came back and raced again. But
I believe that was also like he was like a part of Dodge's whole deal. Like they were banned from NASCAR for a little bit, I think, and then they came back, I believe.
Well, and also I believe he was one of the only drivers who did not join. Was it the EDA? Basically. Not a union, but totally was a union that boycotted the first Talladega race. He was one of 3 Cup drivers to drive that race. And looking at the 1969 season, this is how you can tell that so much of their point system back then was so wonky and weird. So he only had one less race than champion David Pearson. He had won 6 more races. Now, Pearson also had 42 and 44 when it came to 42 top 5s and 44 top 10s with a 5.3 average. But, I mean, he was, I would say he was probably the 3rd best driver, only behind David Pearson and Richard Petty, which, again, like many of these drivers from, I'd say, about 20 to, I'd say maybe 40 on this list, one of the best ever to race against the absolute best ever. But I think that about cover it for Bobby Isaac at P27.
One more.
Again, that 20 poles that he won is the record for most in a season, still standing today. But the last one on this list is somebody who is a very just amazing name. Amazing name for NASCAR, just like a lot in the early days. With 33 career Cup wins, if I could talk, 33 career Cup wins, the 1962 Daytona 500 champion, among other crown jewel wins, 2nd place in the points in 1950. Fireball Roberts is 26th on this list. Chat and Danny have him 29th, Eric 28th, me 25th. Darian, again, I'm going to put you on the spot here, 19th. I think he had like some what's the opposite of recency bias here?
Hey, I dug into the books, into the
Latency
history
bias.
books, man. I dug into the history books for this one. I told you, I was the first one to turn my list in. I took it serious. But Fireball Roberts, just like Joe Weatherly, would be way higher on this list had he lived on. He also lost his life in 1964. And unfortunately, Ned Jarrett was involved in the crash and, tried to save him. But I mean, his body was too burnt up and unfortunately just passed away. But before that, he was really one of NASCAR's first original superstars. You go back to those early days of the sport. And he was just one of those drivers where, fans would just flock to the racetrack, especially Charlotte, to see Fireball Roberts race. He had the name, he had the charisma. 1962 Daytona 500 champion, won the Southern 500. He never won a championship. And honestly, I feel like you can make the argument like you could even make the argument he might be the greatest NASCAR driver never to win a championship. Maybe there's an argument to be made there, sort of to some extent. But yeah, no, Fireball Roberts, even though he didn't win a championship, even though his career was cut short, still remembered as one of the all-time greats. That's why I had him in the top 20.
Yeah, he's absolutely on the list. I had him just behind Bobby Isaac and Brad Keselowski on my list, and that I think is solely because he didn't win a championship, unfortunately. But to your point, Darian, he won just about everything else there was to win. And like Joe Weatherly, if his career hadn't been tragically cut short, who knows? I think you can make an argument that championship would have came at some point. But no, I mean, it's one of the more recognizable names in stock car racing, Fireball Roberts. So I think definitely worthy of a spot inside the top 30. I just had him slightly behind Keselowski and Isaac.
Well, and I'm looking too, and he won a race in 1950, right off the bat. In the early years, he did not win again. Granted, he only raced, I think, like 20-something races, but he didn't win again until 1956, to which he won every single year through 1964. He was only 35 years old when he passed away.
Still a long way to go.
He could have easily raced well into the 70s. I mean, the way drivers were back then, he could probably race into the early 80s. Maybe not successful.
It could have been an even bigger name than what he was.
Yeah. Wins.
He could have been the guy that, drivers and team owners said, like, hey, I got to have Walter in my car. He's just the number one guy. He could have been like that,
Yeah.
Oh, and wins-wise, with how many races that they were running up until the realignment of the modern era, he probably could have gotten up to the 50s mark. He could be up there where Lee Petty is easily. And when you look at his points finishes too, he had, second in points in 1950. He had then after that 5 more finishes in the top 10 in points, including 2 fifth-place runs in 61 and 63. So definitely a driver, one with a ton of missed potential because of what happened, but also just an absolute stud in his time. But that'll about wrap it up for this week, 30 through 26. We got 25 through 21 next week, but just to give you the quick rundown, 30th is Rex White, 29th, Joe Weatherly. Brad Keselowski made this list at 28th, 27th, Bobby Isaac, and 26th, Fireball Roberts. We'll be sure to have some pretty recognizable names as well next week. But guys, I'm going to bring you back up through time all over again. It is time for Pocono.
Oh yes, Pocono weekend.
Pocono.
Looking at the Pocono weekend coming up here, though. One note for this weekend, I figured I'd let you know. Late kind of entry to it here, but Daniel Suarez will be in the number 10 for colleague in the Xfinity Series. But looking forward to the race weekend. I'll go chronological order on this one. So Thursday night, we have another race in Stafford for the SRX starting at 9 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. The Thursday forecast at the moment is partly cloudy with a 25% chance of rain, so better than last week, 84 degrees. Defending winner, last week, Denny Hamlin, which I got right. Looking at the entry list, if I can pull it up right here, we have 13 cars this week. I mean, look at that. We're making ground, guys, at this rate. Next, in 3 years, we'll have 14 cars. But the 13 cars in the field this week And this is the starting lineup, by the way, for the first heat is Haley Deegan, Tony Stewart, Paul Tracy, Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, Ken Schrader, Brad Keselowski, Daniel Suarez, Bobby Labonte, Marco Andretti, Ryan Preece, Kenny Wallace, and Tony Kanaan. So that's going to be fun, if it's anything like last week. Now, we also have a doubleheader on Saturday at Pocono, starting with the truck race at noon Eastern Time on FS1 and MRN. 60 laps for the CRC Bracklene 150. 15 laps, and 30 laps are the stage lengths. Defending winner of this race, Chandler Smith. The weather is forecast to be 75, partly sunny for Saturday, with an 11% chance of rain, which goes also forward to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on USA and MRN for the Pocono 225. I don't know if they got a name for it yet, but that's what it was last time I checked. 90 laps, 20, 20, and 50 are the stage lengths for it. Noah Gragson is your defending winner of this one. Then the Cup race, the High Point 400, 160 laps at the Pocono Raceway. 30, 65, 65 are the stages, starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on USA and MRN. This Sunday's forecast is 79 degrees, hazy out but sunny, 19% chance of rain. Defending winner of this, Tape. Oh, and Chase Elliott. So that's what we're looking forward to. And something else we're looking forward to is who's going to be up towards the front and who to bet on. Darian, who you got?
Oh, yes. So the betting odds, they don't really know who to pick because the top three are tied. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin all entered this weekend at plus 550 apiece. Kyle Larson is plus 750, and rounding out the top five is William Byron at plus 900. Best of the rest, Ryan Blaney plus 1,100, Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott plus 1,200, Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell plus 1,400. As for the underdogs, very interesting picks. Harvick and Logano were plus 1,600. That's something to really take advantage of. Daniel Suarez is plus 2,800. Brad Keselowski plus 3,500, and his teammate Chris Buescher is plus 6,000. So take advantage of those. Do with that information what you will. As for the fantasy leagues, let's go over the top five in the main NWP fantasy league. Sean 48NY is leading less than 10 points over Trevor Sports 98 in second. Round in P3 is Polish Victory Lap. P4 is 48 Nation, and rounding out the top five is BFN. Let's go. And as for the second NWP Fantasy League, just a 27-point lead, but Race Roar 48 leads over Room HMS, and third is JC_43. Fourth is 42 Larson 5, and rounding out the top five is one of my favorite names, Unofficial Illinois Representative.
Illinois.
Yes, or yes, Illinois, excuse me. I keep saying noise. Gosh, Illinois Representative. But now, this is going to be my new favorite segment, the pick points, at least for this week. Oh, let's get to those.
Yeah, congrats to Darian, who got the sweep last week.
That's big.
Against all the odds.
Yeah, so got those extra 10 bonus points on top of the 5 for Cup. And what we got here is a big shift. 371 points to the chat. Eric, you're minus 14. Darian up to third, solidly. Only 43 back now. I'm in fourth, minus 53. I got the SRX pick right, at least. And Danny is down in the basement, minus 64. We got some space between all of us now in this one. Still pretty close compared to where we were the last 2 years. But Darian making a bit of a case at this point that he might be able to get himself back into this thing. Got the first sweep of 2023, which I think the last 2 years we've had by this point at least 2 or 3 sweeps by different people. So good on you, Darian. Good on you.
Nice. Finally goes my way. Damn, about time. But Eric, what's going on, man? You're letting the chat get away from you, man. What's happening?
Christopher Bell, his pit crew, and then him just choked it. I mean, I think we said the stat. In 7 National Series starts in New Hampshire, he'd finished first or second. No, I'm sorry. In 8 National Series starts, he'd finished first or second 7 times. And that did not happen on Sunday. So Did the chat pick Bell too, though? Maybe that's not where I got lost.
I thought everyone picked Bell except me.
It was everyone but Darian picked Bell.
Where did I lose ground?
The Xfinity
right?
race. We all
I don't even remember who I picked.
You didn't pick John Hunter like the rest of us.
Oh, you all picked John Hunter
for the most part.
Man.
But looking,
I had Cole Custer. I was the only one.
Well, looking at these picks here, moving forward, I just want to let you know this is again. We'll review this while the SRX is going. You got your normal pick points up here for Cup, Xfinity, and trucks, and then +4 for the SRX. Only the guy who picks the winner or guys that pick the winner get the +4. That does not count towards the sweep as well. So with that knowledge in place, let's go with our SRX picks. Eric, lead us off. Who you got?
Maybe a boring pick, and maybe I'm buying into the hype. This dude's done nothing well for a long, long time, but like this is his track, so I'm gonna go Ryan Preece.
He's done nothing well for a long time.
He just hasn't. But this is his backyard. This is where everything turns around, right?
I'm gonna go with Tony Stewart on this one.
Listen, I always would pick Smoke. I'm not gonna. Preece, tempting. I don't trust him. I'm gonna go with the guy who probably should have won the first week, Ryan Newman.
I'm going last week. I had the guy who I felt was the best short track racer in that schedule. And this week I'm saying the same thing. Ryan Preece for me too.
I would poll the chat, but it's pretty clear it's going Newman.
Yeah, and also I forgot this. I didn't realize this until they turned it on. I forgot they took away the whole local driver thingy or whatever. I missed that a little bit, but a little.
Yeah, because I saw Doug Kobe was racing in the modified race I was at on Saturday. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's a former SRX winner, and now he doesn't get a chance to do it.
Well, let's keep going into the weekend here with the truck picks. Eric, who you got on this one?
My favorite, it's time, baby. Corey Heim.
You know what? Look, this guy, he hasn't done me wrong. When I picked him, I was going to go with Heim or Smith at first, but then found out Old Reliable was in the field. KFB, Kyle Busch, wins at Pocono.
Yeah, I'm going KFB as well.
Yeah, sorry, Eric. We're going to probably go by you on that one.
I don't know about that.
We'll see. But the chat, whoa, chat.
Kyle Busch is only one for 4 and wins this year in trucks.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm seeing a toss up between it's more KFB than it is.
Yeah, no, it's looking more Kyle.
We're gonna give Kyle Busch to the.
I think they also see an opportunity to go thirder from Eric on that one.
Oh, I don't know. I'm feeling good about this pick.
Yeah,
they're giving Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
it's not a driver's. It's not a driver's track. This is how much horsepower, aero.
That is true.
Toyota. I like Toyota over Chevy. And
I've seen Kyle Busch race this place before in trucks and just.
Well, we'll find out on Saturday. Same with the Xfinity race. I'm gonna spoil it for everybody now because I get these picks before the show with all 4 of us. We all pick Chase Elliott,
and I'm assuming the chat's gonna pick Chase Elliott.
Yeah. So
we'll see. Well, hold on. We'll
gotta
see.
give him some time. They're still saying Kyle Busch.
Let's go to. Yeah, I mean. I don't know how much time we need to give them. We know it's going to be probably Chase Elliott or.
Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. Well, okay.
I'm seeing some 20s.
We're starting to see some trickle in. Whoa, wait a minute.
They're going Nemechek.
There's 20.
Whoa, so they're going Nemechek, y'all. Hey, give him Nemechek. Yep. That's all I see. Yep, Nemechek it is.
All right.
Give him Nemechek.
Well, let's move to the Cup race then, since they're going John Hunter. Who's going to suck this week, Eric?
Who's gonna suck? Stuart Haas had themselves a nice bounce back weekend. I thought Eric Almirola. We didn't really talk about him earlier, but he was in contention for a top 5 until pit crew made a devastating mistake. I'm not gonna pick Almirola to suck. I'm gonna go Preece. I'm picking him to win SRX, but the trade off is he's my suck pick in the Cup race.
This is beating a dead horse, but I feel like Noah Gragson has just found ways to suck in like ways I didn't think was possible, like at certain points in the race, especially on the Chicago street course. So I feel like this weekend, something crazy is going to happen to him within like the first 20 or 30 laps. Like he's going to suck, but it's going to be even like worse than usual. I feel like, I don't know. It's been that type of year for him, man. Just get through the season.
Well, I'm going to go Preece as well. And before we get to yours, Danny, I think the chat's also going Noah.
Yeah. Just give him that.
Yeah, and I'm close. But I'm going with Eric Jones on this one. I think Legacy is going to struggle as a whole, but I'm going Eric Jones on this one.
Well,
Hey, they're gonna get that championship.
And it's funny. It's funny. All of our suck picks are 41, 42, or 43. So.
Oh, interesting. It's funny when that
I just remember back like with Legacy, going back to their petty days, just remembering like I think it was 18 through 19. I'm pretty sure Bubba had something happen to him in every single one of those Pocono races.
Yeah.
But who's going to be the dark horse, I think, is an even better question. Who's going to suck?
I don't know if I truly believe this is a dark horse pick, but this is a driver I'm watching. It's Ty Gibbs. We talked about earlier, but this is 1 year, basically one exact year since his Cup Series debut, and it came last minute, had to fill in. But if I remember correctly, he did pretty well in that race. He ran 15th, I think, driving, wearing Kurt Busch's hemmed fire suit. So I think Ty Gibbs, this will be a race to watch. Can he make a dent in that points deficit?
Michael McDowell, man. Hey, that team's they're on a roll, man. They're going after history, man. They're trying to point their way into the playoffs, man. This team has come a long way, and they're going to continue to go even further up the standings. Michael McDowell.
Well, I'm going to be with Eric on this one. I think Ty Gibbs is somebody who's going to be a dark horse. Toyota is pretty good here, and Gibbs ran relatively well for being his first start and being thrown right into the fire. So I'm going with the 54 on this one.
I remember this guy nearly had a chance to win his first race when he was a JGR at this track, and it's always been pretty good to him ever since. And I think Daniel Suarez could be an underdog to maybe beat Eric Yen for the win, but not going to quite say he's going to.
That's
true.
And
the chat is going with Buescher from the looks of it. So
okay, and now for the main event of the evening, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at Pocono, Eric?
Mr. Tricky Triangle himself, Denny Hamlin's going to prove that it wasn't tape that got him the dub here last year. Well, the initial dub, actually a last place finish.
Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. have the best odds. They're tied at plus 550 apiece. Hamlin seems like the obvious one. Busch, 50-50 on. But Martin Truex Jr., man, he's just on a roll. He's going to win this Sunday.
Eric, like the last three picks, great minds think alike. I'm going Denny Hamlin as well. The guy has just been, since the very beginning, one of the best ever at Pocono, and I think he's going to back it up again. I think he's going to prove last year's tape was just a fluke. It was not anything that helped him whatsoever. I think he's going to prove it. I think he's going to go into victory lane at probably around 5:30 or so Eastern on Sunday.
What I'm saying, my pick has only ever won here one time, but he has had several good finishes. And I'm going to take back what I said earlier this year, where he wouldn't win this year. I'm going to say Kevin Harvick will win this weekend. No bad blood between him and I. Perfect is what I have to say about that.
Oh, yeah.
And looking at the chat, there's three I think they're really going towards right now: the 8, the 9, and the 11. I'm going to put a poll up.
I see a couple of 21s there. I see a couple of 42s as well.
I don't know. I think they're going with Noah Gragson.
Let's see who they go with.
Oh gosh. Oh whoa. Oh wow.
I don't know. That's looking like a Kyle Busch sweep, maybe. Like, oh nope. The 11's coming back. It's getting even.
And the 9 has a lot more than I thought he would too. Wow. That's interesting.
You guys,
could just be popularity.
Total. Give me a vote total that we'll end it off at.
Well, do you
120?
Yeah, maybe like actually 150 or something.
Make it 150. Yeah,
150. Well, then, while they're doing that, I guess we can catch up on the final Super Chat stage break. Of course, they might hit 150.
200. Really, it might. Well, if it hits 150 really quick, then 200. Let's say.
No, I mean it's looking pretty.
I think it's starting to look conclusive.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the Super Chat stage break a little bit. And end off on that. First off, I want to thank David Bell for being a member of the channel. Larso, thank you for being a super chatter for $2, saying, why did Rick always favor Jimmy over Jeff? I think that's BS. They said the same thing about Junior not being favored, and then Junior started winning, and nobody said that anymore.
I'm just saying, they're the reason one of them's still running Hendrick. The other one had to go make his own team.
Yeah.
Antar Das, thank you for the 5. Pocono reminds me that we use turns instead of entry, middle, and exits, but Pocono is the exception. Personally, I like entries and exits than turns.
Unique perspective.
I prefer Harvick 4, like we saw at New Hampshire.
Also, I'm gonna end the poll now. It's pretty clear. Kyle Busch is the pick for the chat.
Wow. Surprising.
I think I'm making up a lot of points this week. I might clean, maybe not sweep the weekend, but I think I might clean sweep the chat. I'm really confident in my picks.
Interesting.
Fred Dog 81, thank you for the 10. 4, 6, and 17 are comfortably in on points, but if we get 2 or 3 new winners, it becomes far more tight to get in. So that being said, which of the 3 feels like they need to win the most to get in?
Oh yeah, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman.
No, it's of the 4, the 6, or the 17.
Oh, my
Listen.
bad. Let's see, 6. I'd go with the 6.
I feel like the 17 has been slightly off the last couple of weeks. Maybe that's wrong. I just know Keselowski was faster at New Hampshire, and so I would maybe say the 17. He'd be feeling the most pressure.
I'm gonna go the 4. I don't trust Stewart Haas Racing at all. So that'd be my pick. What say you, Danny?
Well, obviously not Kevin Harvick. I just picked him to win, so I'm going to go with Buescher on that one.
Let's see. Firepile 129 for the 2. Rick always sat on Jimmy's pit box, never Jeff's. Oh my god.
Oh god.
The amount of copium that Jeff Gordon fans take is amazing. They become the Earnhardt fans they hated.
Like, guys, he still won 90-something races. Like, give it a rest.
But no one liked Jeff.
If you got a problem with this, you should have a problem with Jeff Gordon. He's the one who found Jimmy and put him in the car.
Yeah, so be mad at so basically, by y'all's logic, Jeff Gordon ruined his own career,
Didn't you realize Jeff Gordon is a god that could do no wrong? Kevin Perry, thank you for the 2. I think it's time for the 9 to move on from Allen.
Whoa, yo, come on. Let's relax.
That's cold.
Let's relax. Relax.
We could put that in the poll for the hot take segment. Hoosier Films, thank you for the 5. MTJ won in Dover, but he didn't dominate. Well, not until the end. It just reset on me. My God, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Man, it's hard to find it. Okay. Mike Manning, thank you for the 5. What's up? Pocono will be my first cup race in over 10 years and my cousin's first race ever. Our food and drink prices, and should I bring a cooler?
If you're allowed to bring a cooler, might as well. I mean, I don't see why not, unless you don't want to lug it around all day. I guess that would be a reason not to. I was there last year. I don't remember the food and drink prices being terrible. Certainly not Chicago or Clash or anything like that, or Daytona. So
Phoenix nachos.
Or Phoenix with the $20 flavorless nachos. I don't remember them being terrible. I don't remember the options being amazing, but I don't think the prices were bad.
And you're going to see a lot, NASCAR looks a lot different in person now than it did 10 years ago.
I should say bad by sporting event standards. You're still going to pay $5 for a soda, probably.
Looking at 2 chats here. Will England says you can't bring in hard-sided coolers, and Blue Jimmy says Pocono fries are the best he's ever had.
Whoa, okay.
There's that. Okay. I hope we helped. CBB for 5. If SVG, man, that's a tongue twister, of letters, wins Indy, what does that mean for his potential NASCAR future? Maybe Hendrick drops Bowman for him next year. Wait.
I saw that.
He says, LOL, just kidding.
They buy him out.
Yeah, they buy Bowman out. Like, hey, we got SVG. If he wins a second race in his second start, then you could pretty much guarantee he'll be in the Cup full time.
I think at this point you could just count this as a wash year for Bowman. I mean, he's got 2 more years.
Daddy, it's not over till it's over. We need some more optimism.
We got 6 more races.
I don't see any of the next few races that gets him into the playoffs.
Oh,
no. David Bell.
No, it's Bover.
David Bell, thank you for the 5. John Hunter Nemechek in his interview after the win was hilarious, and thank you, fellows, for all you do for NASCAR with a thumbs up and a fire.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Kind of you to say.
People, of course, like we talked about before, for 2 says, girls and guys, Danny, we guys Swifties exist.
Yeah.
Hello FR for 2. Could SVG replace Bowman and Elliott if they struggle more?
There you go. That was
Replace
the other one I
both
was
Bowman
saying.
and Elliott. He's gonna drive both cars.
Well, no, that's an obvious no.
I'm not going to know in that. That's a no for me, dog. Sean, thank you for the 10. What was at SRX Thursday, and Tony Stewart looked at me when I was all alone with my dad and said he would not sign an autograph, but he had nothing to do for 20 minutes. His words were, "Nah, kid, I'm over here." Okay.
Damn.
That happened.
I mean, that doesn't shock me of Tony.
No.
Yeah, I've had similar stuff with Jeff when I was a kid. Austin, thank you for the 5. This is one of the hardest stretches of the season. New Hampshire, Pocono, Michigan. All those tracks can kick rocks, in my opinion. Love y'all. Well, I'd say Michigan last year, I think, especially with how Auto Club's been, Michigan, I think, was proving itself to be worthy of having fun again. 1, ASA Dad for 2. Why didn't Jeff win 100 races? And why did he suck after 2001?
Honestly, though, I've been asking that for years.
I love the Jeff Gordon war we have now.
He sucked after 2001.
Man, I was junior, had this sucky career of Jeff
Yeah.
Gordon. That would have been awesome.
That would have been way better to witness.
Like, I'm pretty sure
man.
all 4 of us wish our drivers had the sucky career of Jeff Gordon.
Yeah. What's with
No,
Gordon?
it's-
But what's with some of these Gordon fans whining them? Like, come on, he won 93 races. y'all.
Only
Come on.
4 championships. I mean,
Yeah, you're so spoiled, y'all. And again, he signed Johnson, so blame him. You can blame him.
I think thanks for pinning my.
Yeah, I'm pinning your comment.
Thanks for that.
Jimmy, thank you for the 5. Hi, guys. That was a great race on Monday. Also, what did you guys think about the SRX race before the weather came?
It was great. I thought the racing was awesome. And the broadcast was really awesome. And I don't know, the way they did the whole Thursday Night Thunder theme, revived that. That was pretty cool. They were paying homage to the old days. So I like that.
I liked a lot of it. It felt a little rough around the edges in parts, but it was solid.
Eric, hold on, Eric. You're taking the Epstein guy over Gordon. Come on now.
Now I'm definitely leaving it pinned. Alessandro, thank you for the 5. What is a on-track incident or incidents that made you guys pissed off so much so that it maybe made you guys question your loyalty to the sport? Wow.
Wow, that's a really.
I don't know if there's anything loyalty to sport threatening.
No, they would have to do some really messed up stuff to make it. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever experienced it.
I want to ask that question to NASCAR Shill in the chat.
Yeah, that's a well. You know what? I guess
NASCAR has never committed a crime.
Thank you, Ben Kennedy.
I guess I could say the closest was when that whole Michael Waltrip racing cheating scandal happened. It was like, oh man, that sucks. And then all of a sudden they added Gordon as the 13th guy. I was like, what are we doing here? What
that might have been it for me.
I was like, what? I'm like, where did they come up with this mess? Like, we're just gonna add Gordon as the 13th special guy.
I love how we brought up a legitimate problem we had and still kept going with the crapping on Jeff Gordon segment. We've been doing.
somehow it led to that. Yeah.
NASCAR Shill says this entire discussion is blasphemous.
Stop immediately.
Well, Isaac for 5 here says, why Gordon is better than Johnson. Gordon was championship 4 finalist his final year. Johnson didn't even make the playoffs in his case.
Damn, that's true. That's some truths. That's facts. Speaking facts.
That's probably the closest thing to the Peyton Manning going out.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, Eric, I did make a Johnson bus video on his Xfinity career.
I'm just trolling the chat at this point. You're right, Darian. This is fun.
And I got to say, it was awesome being at Gordon's last win. That was so cool. I will always brag about that any chance I get. Let's see. Orange Luigi, thank you for being a member for 2 months. 99 Pocono was your first race in person. Went for his 9th birthday. Well, that's awesome. I love that.
That's cool. Nice.
And then Snappy 452 for 2. Jeff Gordon got with peak Britney Spears all-time W. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where she was at a race and everything.
Well,
that's
she was part of the promotion.
Oh yeah, the whole commercials and stuff. That's right. Yeah.
Jeff sounding a little weird with how he talked about how she works on stuff.
Yeah, but now Brittany can't keep her hands off of NBA players and get smacked. Where's the time gone?
Leave Brittany alone.
In that case, she should have left him alone.
Okay.
Well, I think much like 2007 for Britney Spears, that'll do it for tonight. Well, you guys could probably see on the bottom there, but I will also remind you that next week, July 26th, is on Darian's channel, and it's this guy's that guy's birthday.
Yeah, I'm turning 26 actually too on the 26th, so that's pretty cool.
It's your golden birthday, and you're gonna spend it with us schmucks.
Hey, remember season 1? We had a show on Eric's channel on my birthday, and we had Bobby Allison on for like 5 minutes before he said, "I'm stopping."
I can't.
That just means that just means that the Tuesday, the night before, those of us who live in the same place need to go do something.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, next week's going to be on my channel, Black Flags Matter. Make sure to tune in. We'll go over Pocono and my baseball game. Oh gosh, got my headphones on. And the baseball game I'll be playing in as well. So for a little bit, but yeah, it's going to be a fun show next week.
Yes, but I think that'll do it. I hope you guys enjoyed. And also, all their links are in the description. Subscribe to all of them if you haven't already. Subscribe to me if you haven't already too. That'd be fun. But guys, I think that'll do it. See you next time. Later, guys.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the copy? Right foot down. We got to go, plan. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. Fix your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Look great. Ridiculous, dude. Holy. You see that? Holy cow. Good job, man. 2 times, baby. Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah.
Got to get that practice in.